You're here in Germany meeting Foreign Office officials. Last month you met the EU's Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier. What is it that you would like to see from Europe and European negotiators in order to protect Scottish interests during this Brexit process?
I think at the moment the movement has to come from the UK side because the hold-up in the negotiations, as far as I can tell, is because there is a lack of clarity from the UK and a lack of realism from the UK in what it's trying to achieve. If we can get over that, and if the negotiation becomes about something that is sensible and achievable, then I think we will see things enter a different phase. That's why I continue to argue for options like customs union and single market, because they're not as good as membership of the EU, but they do address a lot of the issues that are still waiting to be resolved. From the European side, as far as Scotland is concerned, I have always recognised that the negotiation is with the UK government, but I've asked for and by and large received a lot of understanding from Europe of Scotland's position, and I think a willingness to help as much as possible. But getting the UK into a good, sensible, realistic negotiating position is in everybody's interests.
So Scotland, as I'm sure you're aware, voted 62% against leaving the European Union. You yourself have been quite critical of the Brexit process so far. In fact, Theresa May's Conservative Party has even said that you've been, or your party has been weaponising Brexit as a means for pushing the independence cause. What would you say to that? And is there are you working towards a timeline for a second independence vote?
Well, firstly, as for the accusations of weaponising Brexit or undermining the UK negotiation, it's nonsense. The only reason that I can say the things that I say about Brexit and mean them sincerely and have so much frustration is because the UK government is making such a mess of the negotiation, and it doesn't have a negotiating strategy worthy of the name. And the sooner that is resolved, the better. In terms of Scotland's future, I support Scotland being an independent country. I don't think that's going to come as news to anybody. I think Scotland will become an independent country. That's the best way to secure our relationships within the British Isles, but also secure our relationships across Europe. The European single market is 8 times the size of the UK trading market, so it's important that Scotland has both, and also that we remain an open, outward-looking country. But the timing of a decision on Scottish independence, I've also said, really has to wait until we get greater clarity around the Brexit process and what the relationship between the UK and the EU is going to be. So we'll wait until we hopefully get some of that clarity before making any decisions about the timeline.
You said that you're hopeful that that clarity might come by the end of the year. Is that still the case?
Well, that's what the Prime Minister will say, and that's what Michel Barnier will say, that by the end of this year, by October, there will be an outline of the future relationship. Hopefully by that time the withdrawal agreement will have been settled and a transition period will have been guaranteed, and what we are told by both sides of the negotiation is that there will be significant detail about the terms of the future relationship, albeit there will still be many issues to be finally negotiated and implemented. Now, I don't have any difficulty saying I have scepticism about whether that can be achieved in that timescale, but I have to, at this stage, take at face value what the negotiators are saying.
But polls have shown no change in attitude when it comes to a second independence referendum. In 2014, in fact, 55% of people voted against it. Given the fact that there doesn't seem to be a renewed appetite for independence at the moment, shouldn't Scotland be focusing more on making a success of Brexit rather than pushing for a second independence vote?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing, trying as hard as we can to get the best outcome from Brexit or the least bad outcome from Brexit, and focusing on that before taking decisions about the timing. Polls can be read by politicians in all sorts of different ways, myself included, but all of the polls, almost all of the polls since 2014 have shown support for independence at least as high, or in many cases higher than it was in the referendum in 2014. And of course, in the course of that campaign in 2014, the polls moved significantly. Support for independence at the outset of that campaign was not much over 30%. By polling day, it reached 45%. So, when arguments are made and the case is engaged, then opinion can change. I suspect that we are seeing opinions change rapidly in Scotland, not just because of what's happening with Brexit overall, but because of some of what I'll describe as the subplots to Brexit, which is the impact on the powers of the Scottish Parliament, which I think is making a lot of people in Scotland very angry and frustrated.
Recent weeks have seen your MPs walking out of Westminster in London. Your MPs have also decided not to approve the EU withdrawal bill. How would you describe relations between Edinburgh and London at the moment?
Relations are strained, and that perhaps was to be expected, given that Scotland is being dragged down a road and out of the EU when, as you said earlier on, we didn't vote for that. 62% voted against that. So perhaps relations were always likely to come under strain because of that. It's been compounded by the fact that the UK government has taken a very high-handed attitude to Scotland's interests and has sought or gone about the Brexit process in a way that rides roughshod over the powers of the Scottish Parliament, and that has compounded matters. And we've seen since MPs walked out of the House of Commons, as a way of making their frustration felt. We've seen membership of the Scottish National Party, my own party, go up significantly. So there's clearly a real frustration in Scotland, not just at Brexit. We want to continue to be an open, outward-looking European country, but also the way in which the Brexit process is undermining the very foundations of our own Parliament in Scotland.